So we were talking about Hitler, yes? And we were gonna talk, I did grade your test, okay? Now Ryan, not here again.
Wait, what's wrong with trying it?
Follow me.
Jason's doing baseball. Michael
Okay.
was hopefully doing track because he said he was. I'm just trying to get some data.
So guys, we were just getting into social dark. So what was that? Did I hit the wrong button?
No.
This is a world of
Yes, so he didn't like the Jews because they seemed really rich and
Okay. Guys, you're getting the long version here, okay? So, listen, do you need to know this for the test? Yes. But I think just a general understanding is okay here. You don't have to. Hi. Hi, Lily? Okay. Yeah. You're okay. Okay. Got it? Okay, so social Darwinism. I asked the question last week before we finished. I said, when you add Darwinism to the human race, you get social Darwinism. Okay, so what this turns into, guys, in a sense, is something called racial science. Okay, so if you're studying you begin to study the different races of human beings and look at different characteristics of the human being. Yes? Yeah. Okay. And so this devolves into a pseudoscience. Okay. So generally, we divided ourselves as human beings based on culture, language, and so forth. Now we start to see separation of people based on race. So Darwin was 1859, okay? And so with Darwin, there's another guy named Wallace. You get natural selection, right? So another way of saying natural selection is survival of the fittest. Okay, so now think about this. Can you use the idea of survival of the fittest to explain history? Like one group of people conquering another group of people because that group of people was, yes. Yes. Now look what Britain had done by 1859.
The sun never sets on the British Empire.
Okay, so in the European world, there's this sense of superiority. Okay, and once you add Darwin into that, okay, and evolution and natural selection, okay, this really flies in the face of Christianity in a sense. Yes? Definitely the New Covenant. So, what enables some to survive and reproduce? How people adapt, okay? So, in 1871, Darwin writes The Descent of Man. So, looking at mankind, talking about applying evolution to man. And one of his theories is that interracial breeding weakens human nature. Okay, now, most of us are mutts. Yes? Okay? Not all of us, but most of us are mutts. Okay? You know what I mean by that?
All the Europes.
Yeah. So Gianna, not Gianna. Okay, Anna.
Oh.
So your family's from Mexico, right? One half? Okay, so you're a mutt. If both halves were from Mexico, really, you're the Mex would be natives intermarried with Spanish. Yes? Okay, there's a term for that. Mestizo, right? Okay. Lily did 23andMe. Any of you guys do that? Look at your DNA. Okay. So Lily is 97% Chinese and 3% Vietnamese.
I heard bad things about that.
I did too, and I told Lily, I said, look,
There was like this one person, I like, I went to take the 23andMe test and it came back like 95% Chinese.
and maybe somebody from China and her family moved to the Philippines. Yeah.
I told Aiden not to take it.
Well, that, and I don't like people having access to my DNA. You did it?
My sister did it.
Your sister did it? Anything interesting out of that?
Actually, it says 100%.
Well, you told me 97.
Well, I just looked and it said 100.
Okay, so it's changing? Okay. All right, so with that, by the 1870s, I told you earlier, unification of Germany when? 1870.
1870.
This is all happening at the same time, people. Okay, the descent of man, Darwin's theories, and German unification, Italian unification, nationalism, all happening at the same time. Are you listening? You paying attention? This is a perfect storm, so to speak. Okay. Now, so by 20 years after Darwin's theory was published, it is becoming widely accepted. Okay, then Herbert Spencer, I don't know if you've heard that name, synthesized Darwin's work and starts to look at society and racial science and survival of the fittest. And he said competition is the key to progress. And he said it's inappropriate for societies to care for their poor. People are poor, he said, for a reason. They're poor because they're weak. And if you help the poor, then you are perpetuating those people so that they can reproduce and have weak offspring. You guys ever been to Walmart?
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Well, it depends on Walmart you go to.
It's the pictures you see of people in Walmart, right?
Yeah.
You've seen the memes, right?
Yeah.
So you say to yourself, maybe this person shouldn't reproduce. Now that's wrong, right? Because this flies in the face of everything that is Christian. You understand? You understand?
Yes.
We're all human beings and we all have value.
Yes.
We're all made in the image of God. Yes?
Yes.
You either believe that or you don't. With me? You either believe that or you don't.
Freshman at the freshman retreat team, they shouldn't reproduce. or that I hope they never have offspring.
You are terrible.
Now, those of you
That was funny.
that were in my class last hour, Alex, listen, I can't get in. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Listen. I didn't do good on the SAT. I didn't have good grades in high school. Okay? But now I'm Master Ebright. So, you can't decide for me what I'm capable of. You understand? You can't decide that for me. The government can't decide that for me. I'm a free human being, and I can achieve what I can achieve. Yes?
Yes.
Master.
So this stuff, although you might think biological terms and so forth, you also have to think in humanitarian terms as Christians. Okay? Now, so they rejected the idea of the welfare state and charity. This is one of the reasons why Hitler hated communists. You understand? Okay? So competition, but in biological terms, okay? Now, Francis Galton, by 1883, comes up with this idea of eugenics. I don't know, or you just remember it.
But like the date.
Francis, something.
No, you don't need to know the dates.
Do we have to know the random names?
No.
Oh, eugenics.
You have to know what.
Something.
Yeah, you need to know Hitler.
Funny was that.
Okay. This is designed, eugenics is designed to improve the human race, for human progress. Okay? And it is also known as social engineering. When we read that article a couple of weeks ago on liberal fascism, and when we talked about Woodrow Wilson and the homework question, I kept coming back to, social engineering is an attempt by brilliant people like Bill Gates to come up with a plan for society. So unbrilliant people like me can be told what to do and how to live for human progress. Okay? I reject social engineering personally. I think we all have the right to be stupid and to pursue our own happiness without harming others. So, eugenics and social Darwinism become a thing where they will try to limit reproduction by people that are weak in society. So those that are physically disabled, those that are mentally disabled, those that have addictions, criminals, and so forth. And as I told you before, we will be practicing eugenics in the United States by the early 1900s in places like Winfield, Kansas, at the Winfield State Hospital. Yes? Where there will be forced castrations and hysterectomies so that people would not reproduce. Now, would you say it's probably a good idea that two people with Down syndrome should not reproduce? I mean, that's an ethics question, yes? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
It's not like.
That's also they have
And
access.
They struggle to be independent.
Is it like a genetic mess up or is it like?
It's a duplication of the 21st.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily something you just.
Would you pass it down?
I don't think Down
I think it's like a.
Okay.
I don't think it is.
It's just
a mess up.
Okay.
It's in the development of.
It's just duplication of the 21st.
Now, like two people that have.
No, I'm not sure.
Some sort of.
Okay. All right. So, in your religion class or biology class, your teacher may have shown you a movie called Gattaca.
Yeah.
Yes, the space
That was
was
so sad.
Okay. Listen, guys, Today's science fiction, tomorrow's reality. Now listen, we are learning more and more about the human genome, yes?
Yes.
We are already beginning to make designer babies, yes?
Yes.
With the hair color, eye color, and different tendencies that people will be born with, yes? Like aptitude.
That's the third time I've heard you say that word.
Now listen, I know the Catholic teaching on this, okay, but it's legal. It's legal in our society to do this. Now, what if, like in the movie, Gattaca, the government could look at your DNA at birth and figure out, again, your aptitude in life, your eyesight, what your eyesight's going to be, what diseases you're predisposed to have. You guys know that a lot of diseases are hereditary. Heart disease, cancer, even alcoholism is something as a trait of addiction that can be passed down. Okay? You understand? Both of my parents were alcoholics. Okay, so I'm predisposed to addiction. And so my sister and I have to be very careful about that. Okay? I mean, we have to be cognizant of it. Okay? And thankfully, I've not, become an alcoholic. Okay? But, except during the pandemic.
Yeah. Everyone was in
The lockdown? Stop it, Joe. Which is one of the really, negative sides to the lockdown. You guys know, right? All
Depression,
it's horrible. It's horrible. Okay, so you guys understand, like, if they can determine these things at birth, are you with me?
You just not born.
They can start your path in life at a very young age. Now, they do this in China already. Okay, with athletes. You look at the Olympics and so forth. They will take these kids that have these abilities as a young person and put them on that track at a very young age. They do this in Europe some as well, as far as your testing goes. Like your test in the 8th grade, you're put on a track, like the college track or the labor market track. Okay, you're not given that choice, and so I go back to the fact that, when I graduated high school, my track would have probably best been to go into the military or something like that, be a soldier, infantry at that. Okay. But we live in a free country. Now, this is where, and call me a conspiracy theorist, this is where I don't want the government to have my DNA. I'd like to do the 23andMe thing, but I don't want somebody else to have my DNA. Call me a conspiracy theorist. But guys, listen, all it takes is another Great Depression, a shortage of food, and government will be, if you give them control over you, they will begin to make decisions like this. History repeats itself. Okay, and the more information the government has about you, the more they can control you. So you want to turn the healthcare system over to the U.S. government? We got to bring down healthcare costs. So the government's going to decide what we can eat so that we're not eating fatty foods, so we're not obese, because obesity is the cause of most of our health problems. You want to bring down the cost of healthcare, control what people eat, what they put in their bodies. That's social engineering. And then you get a crisis, and then they really control you. Now, I know you guys have read 1984. You guys have read Animal Farm. You guys have read about dystopian cultures, right? That stuff has happened here on this planet and will happen again. So, just saying.
Just saying.
Just saying. Don't be a sheep. All right, then you get into racial science, right? We're going to study the shape of people's heads. We're going to study the distance between the eyes. We're going to study the size of the nose and the lips and the skin color. Yeah?
White noses.
All right. Social Darwinism. Now, I got more. We've got to learn the difference between traditional anti-Semitism and modern anti-Semitism. You will write about this on the test. Yep.
Like, so if I made like a chart.
Why do people hate Jews? Why did people hate Jews in the time of Moses? Why were they enslaved?
There was a lot of them.
They were giving
Authority over their life to
Cohen, what'd you say? Monotheistic.
And all their other gods were fake.
The God of Abraham. Yes? Yes? Did the Egyptians have one God? So the Jews were enslaved in part because of their what? Traditional anti-Semitism dates back to early times, before Jesus. Yes? And it's based on the Jews being a people of a different religion. Now, after the Jews escaped Egypt and went to the Promised Land, God's chosen people, they also dispersed throughout Europe and Russia, throughout the world, and lived in pockets in those areas. As I think we mentioned in here, President Zelensky of Ukraine is Jewish. Okay? Now, modern anti-Semitism begins in the 1870s and is based on what? Race. The Jews are seen as a different race. So in Germany, you were German or you were Jew. You understand? So the Germans saw, the Austrians saw, especially Mayor Luger, saw the Jews as a different race of people. They weren't Austrian, they were Jews. And in the age of nationalism, you weren't truly German. You weren't truly Austrian. You weren't truly French. Now, there's a lot of centuries in between here and there. So as you move through the centuries of traditional anti-Semitism, there are some theories or myths about Jewish people. Okay, now we know Jesus was Jewish, right? But who killed Jesus? Okay, so that gives a reason for Christians not to like Jews, because they killed Jesus and they didn't convert. Okay, that's religion. Now, there's this theory out there, guys, or myth, I should say myth. Have you ever heard of this? It's called ritual murder or blood libel. there's this myth out there that Jews needed to drink the blood of Christians to get strength. Like they would go through a ritual murder Christians, and drink their blood. Where's my mouse? Look at this headline.
341. A bit late for that one.
This man was burned at the stake in France 344 years ago. Raphael Levy was found guilty and burned at the stake for allegedly killing a 3-year-old for ritual purposes. Okay, so 350 years ago, this published 2014 is what? What year does that go back to?
1780.
Okay.
16.
This is religious. This is religious. Okay? Now, as you look at Jews in Europe throughout the centuries, okay, most people thought that Jews would intermarry and become Christians eventually. Like they would just become part of society. They would intermix. But many did not. Okay? And so this theory was around in the 12th and 13th century, that this ritual murder thing, and then it kind of went away. But it came back in the 16th century, and this happened in the 17th century and the 19th century. So around the time that Hitler is growing up, there were some really big sensational trials about this. One took place in Hungary, the country Hungary. And when I mean sensational, you can find references to this trial in the United States in newspapers in the 1880s. So this is like the O.J. Simpson trial. It's being heard about worldwide. In 1882, a 14-year-old girl disappeared, Christian girl, on Easter Sunday. There were two kids, a 15-year-old and a 14-year-old, that were kids of Jewish parents. And I don't know why they did it, but they said it was their parents that did it. And these two Jews were put on trial for the murder of this 14-year-old Christian girl on Easter Sunday. Now, at the time of the trial, beginning of the trial, they did not have a body. But while the trial was going on, they found the 14-year-old girl. She was dead. But when they found the body, they knew that it wasn't a ritual murder. So they were cleared. They shut down the trial. But it was too late. Because everybody was talking about it. That Jews do this. See, you guys have heard of kosher foods? In order for Jews to eat meat, you have to kill the animal in a certain way and prepare it a certain way. And how do you first kill the animal? Draining the body of blood, and then you can prepare the meat. When they found the 14-year-old girl, her throat had not been cut. I don't know. But guys, you understand, this myth of ritual murder continues because of the sensationalism of the tribe. You following me? So Jews are seen as different, both religion-wise, and then when we get to this era of Darwin, as a different race of people. And that makes them easy targets. Just like you guys are easy targets. Bishop Carroll Catholic High School. We're easy targets. Because we're different. Yes? Okay. Do you guys understand the difference between traditional and modern anti-Semitism? Okay. All right, good. So that's where Hitler gets his ideology, okay, from Volkish nationalism, ethnic nationalism, and the ideas of social Darwinism, okay? So let's get back to Hitler. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to turn it off. Oh, I gotta get some light back there, please. Okay, what does this say? He wanted to be an artist, failed the entrance exam twice, 2 times. Okay, so guys, his family, his mom and him moved actually into Bavaria, okay, which is in Germany. Bavaria is to Germany, as Kansas is to the United States. It's a region or a state. Okay, so I'm going to draw a rough. Germany. Capital, Berlin. Okay, this region down here is Bavaria. Oh my gosh. Okay, and its largest city is Munich. Okay, if you ever get a chance to go to Germany, go to Munich. Okay, it's a really nice city. They have beer halls like the Hofbrauhaus. Okay, they're kind of cool. German culture is neat, and these beer halls play a big role in their society and have traditionally. And so a lot of meetings take place in these beer halls, like city council meetings and stuff like that. We just all meet at the beer hall and have a meeting, okay? I mean, they're huge. Like, a lot of them are open air, so it's like a huge open barn. It's got a roof on it, picnic tables. It's a big area where people come. There's polka music, which is fun, and Germans drinking beer, okay? And it's delicious. Okay, so Hitler, when World War I breaks out, joins the German army, not the Austrian army, okay? And while he served in World War I, he was a high school dropout. So your chances of rising through the ranks in the military are not very good if you're a high school dropout. But he did achieve the position of corporal, which is not bad, okay? And people that served with Hitler in the army said that he was in his element. This was, I mean, he loved the camaraderie of the army, the brotherhood of it, the fighting in the name of Germany was something he was very passionate about. He was a courier. And you guys know about trench warfare and World War I and so forth. So this is somebody that runs messages to the front, you know, back to headquarters to the front. It's a dangerous job, okay? And he seized it. He liked it. He enjoyed it, okay? In the last year of the war, Hitler was caught in a poisonous gas attack, and he was temporarily blinded and was in the hospital when Germany surrendered. Hitler was very upset because he believed in the superiority of the Germans, and how could they surrender? There's got to be somebody to blame for this, because Germany shouldn't have lost. And who were his favorite targets to blame? Jews, who he said did not fight with the same vigor that real Germans did. He blamed the government. Okay? Now, he's actually, it's not like his prospects for employment are real high here. Okay? He's been a corporal in the army, he's a high school dropout. So he stays in the army after the war. And his job, guys, there's basically a civil war going on there. It's chaos in Germany at this point. Okay? And the army wanted to keep an eye on things. So Hitler's job was to go to political events and make sure that nobody was trying to overthrow the government. So he's basically sitting in on these political group meetings. And he goes to a beer hall one night in Munich, and there's a small political party gathering. They're called the DAP. Okay, when you drive into Germany, it doesn't say welcome to Germany. It says welcome to what? Deutschland. Okay, so Deutschland, okay, German, Arbeiten, Workers Party, the German Workers Party. Now, guys, there's literally like 6 or 7 people at this meeting. It's a small political party. But you know what they believe in? Volkish nationalism. Okay? They believe in the superiority of the ethnic German. Okay? And he's like, I like these people. I think I'm going to hang out with these people. And so eventually he quits the army and goes full time with the German Workers' Party. Yeah. They also believe, this small group, that Bavaria should separate from Germany. Okay. And he asked them to join, or they asked him to join. And the party grew a little bit. In February of 1919, so the war ends in November, right? Of 1918. So this is a few months after the war. Hitler gives a speech. The biggest crowd that the German Worker Party's ever had. 2,000 people. It's growing. And Hitler's going to speak. What he realizes, and what everybody in the room realizes, that he's really good at this speaking thing. Okay? And by the time he's done, I mean, he starts slow, somber, slowly, works up the energy. Okay? And then by the middle of his speech, he's got everybody worked up into a frenzy. Okay? And he's up into a frenzy. All right? So, that's, actually, I'm sorry. It's February 1920. Okay, it took a little bit longer. Okay. All right. And they will change the name of the party. And they will name him the leader of the party. Okay? So he's going to change the name. National Socialist German Workers' Party. Now you say that in German. You know how Germans talk. Okay? They're going to shorten this. Okay? The way you say it. You know what I mean? Like, so Nazi's a lot easier. So they shorten it. And that's where you get the name the Nazi Party. The National Socialist German Workers' Party. If we had somebody that spoke good German in here, Gabby, we could say that in German. Do we know how to say National Socialist in German?
It's pretty much the same, but you wouldn't change the wording. It would be like that. Nationish, something like that. Probably social, something like that.
Sounds like Nazis.
Betsky's looking.
National.
What's wrong?
Is
Is time up?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Time's up?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We get back on Wednesday. I'm going to give you the 25-point platform. No, I'm going to give you the major parts of the Nazi Party platform. Okay. You guys that have had government, remember? Party stance on the issues of party platform, yes? What is the stance on one issue? A party what? Single issue is a party what?
It's a single issue.
Ideological?
Party stance on all the issues is a platform.
Yes.
What's the stance on one issue called a party what?
Idea.
It's a plank.
Oh, that's right, because it's
I
a
was getting
plank and a platform. Yeah, I remember that.
Plank. I will give you some of the key planks of the German party platform on Wednesday.